A new bundle of chapters for Shonen Jump means a new chapter in Build King. And regardless of what happens in Build King, I'm going to review it until the end. Like, if it survives the axe, then I'm just gonna keep doing it because I do genuinely like it. And if it is gonna get axed, I'll read it and review it to the end. Because, like I said, I do genuinely like the series. I like the very weirdness of it, the art especially. Like it looks really cool. Just like I've mentioned before, when I do reviews, I read the chapter usually at least twice. Like I read them in the morning, and then before I start the review, I read them, and then I have the chapter up so I can kind of like skim through it while I'm reading it. And just looking at like the first panel when it showed the headquarters for Build On, it looks so cool. It's just like this massive set of castles in the, but in the I don't know what like the style of the architecture it is, other than it's from Japan. And but like the way that it looks, like these style of buildings done so big, it just looks so cool. And I really like it. I love seeing this massive castle of this old style of Japanese building amongst the background, which is all like futuristic looking. I think that's just really cool in general. And at the very top of this castle, in a floor that's at the very like surface top of the cloud layer, is like you see this guy who is the master carpenter of the organization, Donyon Suplex. Very interesting name, an odd design in general. Like I wouldn't expect this to be the design because like if you've read Toriko, for those who are listening that have read Shimoaku's previous work in Toriko, the head of the Gourmet Corpse was I can't remember exactly the name of their group. It's been a while. I really want to reread Toriko soon. But at the very top was Ichiru, who was he was smaller than you'd expect him to be with some of like the bigger characters existing, but he looked badass. Like he had this sick mustache, there's like this slick back blonde hair. He had this like permanent fair strong tan. Like he looked very cool, and he was really cool like as a character too. He's a nice guy, but he was extremely powerful. But like this guy, this is like a very odd character, like in just general design. Like he has like this weird, almost Cruella de Vil on the side's hair that turns into like almost that turns into mutton chops, and then has like a mohawk, and it's multicolored, and like a keyhole, and like what look like painted lips. I do like the weird lug nut earrings. I think that actually looks really cool because I have seen like those earrings at the it's like a weird ball on somebody's I don't know somebody's earlobe. I don't know what they're called. Like that's like almost like sucked into the earlobe almost. That's like that, but essentially, but these big bolts. I actually thought that was a really neat feature to design. But my guess is because this character has to be strong. Like this is a super big deal character. There's no way this guy would be a weakling. And I'm guessing maybe he's more of like a kingpin kind of guy where he's smarter than he is powerful, but he's still really powerful. He's just very, for like terms of a human, kingpin is very powerful. No powers. He's just this massive dude. Whereas this, maybe it's like this guy too. And the fact that it's a very like old Japanese style building, then maybe he'll like with his like size and shape and the robe, maybe he'll be like a sumo wrestler kind of character instead. Where instead of it being like some big powerful jack dude, it's just some big like sheer girth, like size power hitter of a dude. I don't know. I always like to guess people's abilities when we when they first show up, and there's enough pieces that I like. There's like maybe, but anyway, like this guy is just generally very odd looking. Apparently, you have to tell him something 10 times or something for him to remember. And his I think one of his assistants, or sorry, one of the 10 edifices. This guy Kulala, he very odd looking design. He has like a strange like upper face burn, kind of like William Bonjins, but he's got like this massive bowl haircut. And then his design is very simple too. He's got like a cloak and like a beaded necklace and just like some pants and a tank top. Very like odd character. Also on top of that, the dude Donyan isn't sitting in a chair. He's like air chair sitting and just holding that. He's just it says like he's squatting, but he looks definitely a little bit more pulled back than that. But essentially the same thing. He's just sitting in this for who knows how long. I didn't even notice that until this reread, but very impressive. And there's like the thing that we're talking about is apparently 2x4. Word got to him, and we're getting some hype around 2x4. I was very curious as to where he sat in the like the power gap or the power level tiering of the series. Because the thing that was super interesting about it is in the one shot, there's only one Build King, and that is a how I can't remember exactly what they called him. It was like Anima Homes or something. It was like a master builder. When they complete their masterpiece, they put their soul into the building or something. And then that, like, the character 2x4 was the Build King. He was like the strongest of those living houses in the mall. And so it's really interesting that it's continuing the hype over from that into this series in like a slightly different character, but like the hype is still there because we know that it was like, oh, this house piece that brought the world to ruin, however long ago. And then they said that even smashed an entire Build King before. And the thing about the Build Kings is that they're apparently so amazing that whatever their environment they're in, time, this the state over time and just the general environment it would have to be fending off against, obviously they're the pinnacle of man-made creations essentially in this world, to fight back against nature and the elements and who knows whatever else they do. But this guy was able to destroy them, which means that at the time of 2x4, during his whole like run of just general chaos, he was more powerful than any creature or climate in the world. Like, nature was weaker than he was. Because really think about it, if Build Kings can stand up against all the different monsters and all the different natural disasters, they can't stand up against 2x4. 2x4 is above every single other thing in the world, which is really interesting when you think about it, and just how such a short kind of step between lore, they just set like this character being absurdly powerful. And again, it's one of the things I like about Shimabukuro, in that he's really good at world building, and he's really good at setting up just a general view of the world as you're going. And I love that about his style of series and his writing. And it's one of the reasons why I really am hoping Build King is able to make it past the X. It's going to really bum me out if it does, but we'll see. But when they're saying how it means that someone must have resurrected it, and they didn't even think that Shovel didn't have a lead on it. But they're saying that they didn't fully detect it. It's like 2x4's vigor. So maybe it's like if we ever find out about the house beasts. Because the thing about the house beasts is they're essentially mimics. Like, if you ever looked at like what a mimic is, it's like that concept, but they're houses. They're living kind of creatures that disguise themselves as houses, and they can like trap people, but they're also very powerful and stuff. It's really cool in the concept of it and how it fits into this world. So, but we don't know like how exactly they're like are made. Maybe they're kind of like Transformers, where they're robotic, but they're like an organic type of machine. It's really weird, but obviously fiction can do that. But maybe that like they can like make offspring, and that is where the one that we know of as 2x4, at least assuming so, is from, or it's the same one. Either way, it's still really interesting, and they are saying that there were people that entered it, and that they're in the exam right now. Obviously, that being Tonkachi and Renga. So that's going to be really interesting to see where this goes, because the guy is going to go and watch the exam. So they're essentially going to have all of the big people in their organization all there. Like, even the very top guy is going to be watching the exam, and Tonkachi and Renga are, they're going to put up a show in this one. Obviously, like, Tonkachi already did really well in this exam. In the first one of just the smashing the nail moles, I actually still really like that. I liked it before that happened. Renga was able to actually like take one out. So even though he himself doesn't seem very strong, he's still above most people. So he's probably like right at the bottom level of the starting zone. Maybe a little bit more, because it's not like he had to go all out to take out one of the nail moles, but still somewhere near like the bottom, where Tonkachi is probably near the top in terms of just like how strong you have to be for the exam. Like just that general level of probably gap to whatever is above the next step, like I guess licensed, or like or maybe they'll have like kind of like a rank system, or like, actually it'd probably make more sense to kind of like have something more like in Toriko, where they have capture levels, where it's like you could kind of gauge like where a character is like, oh well, this character should be stronger in this one by how much. It's like, oh, one of them beat a capture level 30 and one of them beat a 42 or something. And it's like, it isn't like he's nothing to him, but he's still a considerable chunk above this other character. But Smith was surprised that 9 people pass, and we get another panel of that person with the weird like draping hair and the always has their eyes closed. I'm very, very suspicious of that character. Also, Quark cheering him on in the audience, I was really happy about. I like Quark so far. I'm hoping that she gets her own role in doing things and gets her own kind of just general way of contributing to the story, because right there was like a good character moment, and I like their dynamic so far. I like Quark. I think she's got an interesting kind of dream already, like having clearly being set in the whole thing of design. So I'm wondering how exactly she's gonna play out. Like maybe she could be like what's that girl in Kingdom's name? The one that the girl in the owl outfit, because her whole thing is being a tactician. So maybe she could be some way of if whatever the people in her group maybe are the ones planning things out. That would I think would be pretty cool. Maybe that's how they would, if she's not going to be a fighter, that's how she could still kind of contribute to the team, because she hasn't done anything yet. She's clearly not strong enough to compete in this exam, or probably has any form of fighting capabilities currently. Maybe in the future, who knows. After that point, I actually really liked the interaction between Smith and Tonkatchi in general, but we found a really interesting aspect about his character. So the thing about Tonkatchi, because when they explain the vigor system, obviously Tonkatchi has to have a lot of it because of how strong he is, and when we see him use the vigor hammer, it's powered by vigor, so he can make it that big, unless the 10 meters is nothing, because then Rengo would be able just to press it and probably do it just fine. But Tonkatchi actually has a lot of it, he just hasn't been able to use it properly. It's like your vigor, it's like, what does he says? Your building materials can't handle it. So essentially, when Tonkatchi is building something, he's just not using parts that can like withstand his energy or just process it properly. So Tonkatchi after that point is sad. He's like saying that it's kind of his fault that happened, and he's saying like he wasn't nice to the house or the materials, and he feels bad. And Smith is like, you're so sweet, apologizing to a house. You know, I'm sure a lot of people had just one of those moments where they kind of like would feel bad an inanimate object, whatever it is. You actually might like hit something with your car or whatever. Actually, that's way too aggressive. I jumped way up there. I don't know. Maybe you drop something, like break a plate that you've had for a long time, and you just kind of feel bad, like fuck, this poor plate. But either way, it makes way more sense in the Build King world, because there are living houses in Tonkatchi. Tonkatchi seems to have that kind of thing that Komatsu had about where he could almost like hear food, and that kind of led to how like he would know exactly how to do things. But I really liked the general connection between Smith and Tonkatchi just right off the bat. You had two meatheads just getting along, and even says like when he was younger, he like his vigor was just was too strong for what he was doing. And so that means, like, this is the road Tonkatchi's gonna go. He's gonna go into this giant meathead fighter kind of, like, setup, like this dude. And this guy, Smith, I've already thought he was... sorry. I'm fumbling on my words real bad right now. I already thought he was pretty interesting before. Like, he had a pretty funny introduction, and just a general way he interacted with the characters I thought was funny. I liked the whole Nelmo thing he set up, and he dwindled down the numbers pretty well to get away all the fodder people, but, like, just off of his crazy junk and antics. But I really liked what happened in this chapter. I got really ahead of myself because I was scrolling down, and I realized something while I was rereading the chapter for this dude, like the number 44 guy, whatever his name is. Actually, he says it while he's talking to Renga. Konichika. Because the interesting thing about him is I'm guessing that he is not going to be a much like fighter, like a big fight character, because he seemed to be not confident in his strength, so I'm guessing he's going to be, well, because he's talking to Renga, and they have a back and forth between them of just, general conversation. They even say, like, hi, nice to meet you, my name, whatever. My guess is that's going to be his rival character, because there was the noting that he was one of the people to kind of, like, keep an eye on, like, high value target to join your crew, whatever their kind of groups are going to be called, their building groups. But he was one to watch, so he has to have some like special value to his character, right? There has to be something kind of higher level, obviously, that he made it into the 9 people that passed. But he's wearing the gas mask and stuff, and like one of the things I was really curious about is like why he was wearing it in general. Because that's obviously going to be a question of, unless he's supposed to be a mysterious character, but no, he takes it off in this one. He mentions that where he's from, the air is filled with explosive gas, so he has to wear one of these helmets. And if he's more of a builder character, and he, like, his value, obviously, the whatever exactly it is, he has to be, special in building. And the, like, extra special, obviously, something kind of like Renga. But I think the difference between him and Renga is it's kind of like how Tonkachi got high level in just fighting. My guess is this guy is high level in building, just from, like, the general aspects of wherever he was at. Like, he was in a really dangerous area, so just, like, making the bare minimum or whatever it is for there, or just kind of being average in that area to start with, is still really good. It would make a lot of sense. Kind of just, it's kind of like when you have what is it? What I'm trying to remember a series. I was just gonna name one. Oh, Martian. If you ever watch that, how when the main character goes to this other world, their gravity is weaker. So by like Earth standards of muscles in their world, he's just like generally faster, stronger, and whatever. That's how I imagine it to be kind of like this. Like, this guy just is, the level of areas he's going to be building in are just so much lower level than him. It's going to feel easy, and he's just not going to be a fighter. So when it comes to the building, he's just going to breeze through these, is my guess. Because the next part of the exam that they're going to do is going to be about building. Also, I can't remember the guy's name. The dude with the Tonkachi had a little back and forth in the last chapter about being too loud. But there was a funny moment with him and Bar, and, like, I guess, like, this dude is from a like, high level clan or something, and the Bar is trying to, like, talk shit to him, and this other dude's just like, oh, say what you want about my clan, I don't care about them at all, but don't talk shit at me, all right? Then we'll have a problem. This guy doesn't give a damn about, like, his family background or apparently anybody in the family. And he's just like, no, talk about them. Don't care. None of my concern. But, you talk shit at me, we have a problem. So I like this guy already, just based off of that. Because he's just a very just kind of grounded guy. As long as you're nice to him, he doesn't care. And he obviously is probably going to have a backstory, in whatever reason that have made him like this. Who knows? But the very end of the chapter, they go into this area, and there's just a massive canyon. And they mention it's the famous Valley Styx of the Build on Garden. So probably like when we saw areas at the start of this whole, just the general environment they're in, there was like a big cliff next to it. So maybe it's like there's other giant kind of just general openings that they are just, have around this giant cavernous region, this being apparently Valley Styx. And they say it's a bottomless pit of hell. And I'm guessing there's going to be monsters in it. So, because the first part was a strength version. You have to have a general level of just straight power, power level stuff in order to compete in general. Because obviously, if they get to, like, crazier materials, you would have to be able to, even if, like, you had, like, some crazy big nail, you got to be able to hit it in. Or whatever, like, heavier materials there are and stuff. But this next step is going to obviously be more on the building aspect. Because even said, oh, you guys ever build a bridge before? And I'm actually hyped to see this, because that means it's going to be more focused on Renga. And we just got introduced to this, was like Kone Pika or whatever. Like, his is going to be really interesting just to see his, like, if my prediction around him is right about how his, what made him such a good builder and however in the story. But I am hyped to see a Renga bit, because obviously, like, Renga hasn't had a lot of character moments yet. He's had a couple, and I've enjoyed that, but I think that'll be cool to see the next part. And then that's like we can see maybe Tonkachi just, fighting some monsters as the parts progress and do some cool action scenes. Maybe we could even get like a fight between characters. Who knows? I am hyped. I'm really hoping that this series can make it, but we'll see how things go. Either way, I'm happy to read it every week, and I'm happy to see where this arc goes. I'm hoping that we can at least get like a solid boss fight before any judgments or decisions are made upon this series. Like at the higher end, we haven't even got a volume cover yet. I'm hoping to get a volume cover within the next kind of like week or two. But other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts are about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts about how this exam is going, I really like these two buildings, like these house beasts right here. They look pretty sick. It is really cool how they all become like house Gundams. I just think that's such a neat concept about these creatures in general, and I'm super curious of where they come from. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend, like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. Other than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.